The sun appears to rise in the east and set in the west due to the Earth's rotation. As the Earth spins from west to east, different parts of its surface are exposed to sunlight, causing the sun to move across the sky. The sun rises when a location faces the sun and sets when it moves away from the sun, creating the cycles of day and night.
Let's start off with what is moon. A moon is called a satellite, a relatively small object that is orbiting around the planet. On average, the distance between the Earth and its moon is about 384,000 kilometers, and the moon is 4 times smaller compared to the width of Earth. The gravity of the Earth pulls on the moon such that one face of the moon is always facing us and we can never see the other side. Just like Earth, half of the moon is always lit by sunlight, and the other half is shadowed. As the moon orbits the Earth, we see a different face of the moon. It takes 27 days, 7 hours, and 34 minutes for the moon to complete one full orbit around Earth, which is called the sidereal month, and is measured by our moon's position relative to distant fixed stars. However, it takes our moon about 29.5 days to complete one cycle of phases from full moon to full moon. The first half of the moon cycle begins with the new moon, which is totally dark that we can barely see anything and climaxes with the full moon. And the new moon phase occurs when the sun, moon, and earth are lined up with the moon in the middle. Now let's talk about the phases of the moon, starting with the new moon. A new moon appears only when the moon is on the side of the earth most directly in line with the sun. It is called a dark moon sometimes because there is no illumination on the earth's side. Within the few days after the dark moon, a thin waxing crescent may be seen low in the western sky shortly after sunset. Next is the first quarter. Half of the side of the moon facing the earth appears illuminated. It rises about noon, reaches its high point for the day at sundown, and sets near midnight. It adds low in fall and high in spring, and takes a middle course during summer and winter. Next is full moon. The whole side of the moon is now illuminated to viewers from the earth. The full moon rises in the east as the sun sets in the west. It stays up all night long, reaching its highest point about midnight. The full moon nears the autumnal equinox, which occurs about September 23, which is the same length of the day and the night, rises with the least delay of all. Lastly is the third or last quarter. It is seen in the illuminated on the half side of the earth like the first quarter. The third quarter moon rises about midnight, highest at dawn, and sets about noon. In the morning, it is in the western sky. The following crescent gets thinner and thinner. It is known as the waning crescent moon or the old moon, as it approaches the phases of the new moon to complete the cycle. Take note, between the full and two-quarter phases and the moon appears as a lopsided globe, then it is called a gibbous moon. The cycle reverses during the following 2 weeks as we see less and less of the sunlit side while the moon continuously moves on its orbit. This movement produces the waning gibbous. The time elapsed during one complete cycle is about 29 and a half days.
First, what is a lunar eclipse? A lunar eclipse is a celestial event that occurs when the Earth passes between the Sun and the Moon, blocking the Sun's light and casting a shadow on the Moon. As you can see, historical records indicate that humans have been observing lunar eclipses for thousands of years, with some of the earliest recorded observations dating back to ancient civilizations such as the Babylonians, Chinese, and Greeks. Now, how does a lunar eclipse work? During a lunar eclipse, the Earth moves between the Sun and the Moon, blocking direct sunlight from reaching the surface of the Moon. This results in a reddish tint of the Moon caused by the sunlight scattering and bending around the Earth's atmosphere. The lunar eclipse also played a crucial role in the development and understanding of astronomy. Before the invention of the telescope, lunar eclipses were one of the few opportunities for astronomers to make precise observations and measurements related to astronomy. For instance, the ancient Greeks used lunar eclipses to calculate the size and shape of the Earth, while Chinese astronomers used lunar eclipses to develop their calendar systems. Overall, the importance of pre-telescope observations has been evident in the present day, wherein the creation of calendars has the ability to predict astronomical phenomena like eclipses through calendrical systems, which showcases their academic and scientific value.
Solar eclipse. A solar eclipse occurs when the moon moves between the sun and earth, blocking all of a portion of the sun's ray from reaching the earth. So, solar eclipses have fascinated humans for centuries, and history has recorded numerous accounts of people observing these celestial events. One of the earliest known observations of a solar eclipse was made by ancient Greeks, specifically Thales, who reportedly predicted an eclipse that occurred in 585 BCE. Thales of Miletus, he is one of the ancient Greek philosophers, and he predicted the total solar eclipse that took place on 28 May 585 BCE. So, how Thales predict the solar eclipse? There is no definite answer, but there is a lot of theory on how he predict the solar eclipse. But the one that almost true is that Thales calculated the timing of any eclipse by recognizing patterns in the periodicities of eclipse. It has been also postulated that Thales may have used the Saros cycle in his determination, and that he may have some knowledge of Babylonian astronomy. Later, in 383 BCE, the Greek philosopher Plato noted that the solar eclipse occurred during a battle between the Lydians and Medes. Plato, he's a philosopher, right? So he noted that the solar eclipse nangyari during a battle between the Lydians and Medes. So, yung mga Lydian, sila yung Aetolian people living in Lydia. And yung Medes naman, ancient Iranian people. So, according to Herodotus, a historian, Lydians and Medes were engaged in an indecisive battle when suddenly a day turns into night. So after that, they stopped fighting because the sight of a total solar eclipse led Lydians and Medes stopped fighting and negotiating a peace agreement. So 6 years na sila magkalaban, then nag-stop yung rivalry nila because of solar eclipse. So, before the advent of this telescope, observing a solar eclipse could be hazardous to one's eyesight. In fact, Socrates warned against the danger of viewing the sun during an eclipse after observing burns of the retina caused by it. He suggested instead viewing its reflection in the water. So, observing a solar eclipse could be hazardous daw, and in fact, viewing the eclipse can cause permanent vision loss. So, yung damage, nag-occur siya without any pain, and they said na there is no treatment for damage caused by looking at the sun. So, Socrates, a Greek philosopher, said that viewing at the sun could burn the retina. So, he suggested na i-view na lang yung reflection in the water. So, how does a solar eclipse work? A solar eclipse occurs because the moon's orbit around Earth is tilted relative to Earth's orbit around the sun. As a result, during a new moon, when the moon is between the Earth and the sun, it can appear to fully or partially block out the sun's ray from reaching the Earth. So, a solar eclipse happens because of the alignment of the moon, Earth, and sun. The orbit of the moon around Earth is tilted in comparison to Earth's orbit around the sun. So when the moon aligns between the sun and Earth, casting its shadow on Earth, we can observe a solar eclipse. So, this happens because the moon can appear to fully or partially block out the sun rays from reaching the earth, causing it to be partially or completely dark for a period of time.
When we look at the night sky, we see stars and the moon that seems to be attached to an imaginary surface. And this imaginary surface is called the celestial sphere. With the Earth being located at its center, celestial sphere has a poles and equators just like the Earth. Celestial sphere is also very useful to us when understanding the positions and motions of the star. Annual motion, which means yearly motion or movement of the stars, and it's caused by the Earth's revolution. So when the sun revolves around the celestial sphere, with its path being called ecliptic, as the Earth moves around the sun, the apparent movement of stars changes. This causes the changes to the length of daytime and nighttime, as well as the changes to the sunset and sunrise points. And these changes are responsible for the changes of seasons that we experience throughout the year. Diurnal motion, which means daily motion and is due to the Earth's rotation. Essentially, it describes the movement of stars and other celestial bodies around the Earth. Now, the path that celestial bodies take to complete diurnal motion is called the diurnal circle. So when observing the night sky, you'll notice the stars move from east to west. Now, we should all know that the time to complete the Earth's rotation takes 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4.09 seconds, also known as the sidereal day. Precision of equinoxes. For example, yung turn na pinapaikot natin, then it starts to wobble. Yun yung parang nangyayari sa Earth natin. And as the Earth wobbles, the position of the stars changes or shifts over time. So this means that over the years, the constellation that we see will appear to move slightly. And the slight changes in the position of the constellation is due to the gravitational force of the moon and sun on the Earth's equatorial patch. The precision of equinoxes have a significant effect on the seasons and astrology, but always remember that precision of equinoxes is not constant. And for it to shift for 1 degree, it takes 72 years, and it takes 26,000 years to complete one cycle.
Venus, Mercury, Mars, and Jupiter and Saturn are easily seen in the sky without the aid of telescope. This planet can be easily confused with stars and are only seen at specific times of day. The best time to look for this planet would be before sunrise and after sunset. And even before the invention of the telescope, ancient people have already observed different astronomical phenomena. The most observed object in the sky, the sun, and the moon. Diba? Yung mga first reporter na sabi na nila na kahit wala pang telescope, meron nang nakakita sa langit. Which is yun, sun, moon, and yung star na mga gumagalaw-galaw. First, Mercury planet. Sa sobrang bilis ng rotation ng Mercury, yung 88 days natin sa Earth, 1 year na sa Mercury. And when Mercury planet passes directly between the Sun and a superior planet, tinatawag itong transit. During transit, yung Mercury, nagiging maliit siya na dot na umiikot sa Sun, and this transit are rare. The first two transit of Mercury in the 21st century occurred in May 8, 2003 and November 10, 2006. At Alam nyo ba na kahit ang Mercury ang pinakamalapit sa Sun, hindi siya ang pinakamainit? Dahil sa dalawang rason. Una, hindi siya kulang sa atmosphere. Pangalawa, dahil mababa ang absorption rate niya. Kaya mas mainit yung Venus kesa sa Mercury. At i-explain ko kung bakit mas mainit ang Venus kesa sa Mercury. Venus. Venus ang pinakamainit na planet because of its thick atmosphere that traps heat and gas. The atmosphere is composed of carbon dioxide and cloud of sulfuric acid. This creates a greenhouse effect where no heat can escape. Kaya naman, mainit yung Venus. Kasi, yung araw pag nai-stuck siya dun sa Venus, sa planet na yon, tapos hindi nakakalabas. Kasi nga, dahil sa greenhouse effect. At alam nyo ba, na clockwise, pag ganun yung ikot niya, yung Venus, kesa sa ibang planet na counterclockwise na pag ganun. Mabagal din yung ikot ng Venus at yun 225 days ng Earth, 1 year na sa Venus. Mars. Mars has 2 small moons. First is Phobos, the inner. Pangalawa is Deimos, the outer. Both are potato-shaped and have cratered surface. Jupiter. Jupiter planet is the biggest solar system in the sky. With this, Jupiter forms a kind of miniature solar system. Jupiter must contain primarily of hydrogen and helium, the two lightest elements. Saturn. Saturn planet is famous ring. The rings appear to be composed of many small bodies which revolve around Saturn like miniature satellites. And because its rings are visible with binocular or kaya sa telescope. So, if gusto mong makita yung ring ng Saturn, go guys. Binocular ang sagot. At kung ang Venus ang brightest object in the sky, ang Saturn is one of the most remarkable object in the sky.
Do you want to know what is the point where the sun rises and sets in the horizon varies in a year? If yes, let's talk about this. So, based the definition, the sun ay sumisikat at lubog-lubog in a year because of the Earth axis. We have two solstices, the summer and winter solstice. So, during summer solstice, nag-occurs ito around June 21st in the northern hemisphere. The sun rises in northeast to northwest, and it is the longest day in a year. While the winter solstice, nag-occurs naman ito around December 21st in the northern hemisphere. The sun rises in southeast to southwest, and it is the shortest day in a year. So, ito po ang changes na nangyari about sa Earth axis. As a result, the angle at which sunlight strikes the Earth's surface changes, leading to variation in the length of daylight, the intensity of sunlight, and the distribution of the solar energy across different regions of the planets.